High in the center of Asia, lifted more than 4.5 kilometers above the level of the sea, there is a land so high, so cold, and so vast that it is known across the world as the roof of the world. It is the highest and largest plateau on the entire planet, a place of thin air, blinding sun, and endless open space, ringed by the tallest mountains on Earth. This is a place where the most elusive big cat in the world hunts among the peaks, unseen for years at a time, where herds of wild yak, giants weighing as much as a small car, graze at altitudes that would leave a person gasping for breath, where geese fly higher than almost any other bird alive, crossing the Himalayas themselves, and where cranes found nowhere else on Earth dance in the high marshes. From the ice and snow of this plateau flow many of the greatest rivers in the world, the waters that sustain nearly 2 billion people across the continent below. It is a harsh and unforgiving world, and yet it is home to animals found nowhere else, each one perfectly shaped by life at the very top of the world. And it has a name: Tibet. If you enjoy this journey with us, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support gives us the motivation to keep creating quality content for you. Leave a comment below and tell us what you thought of the video. We would love to discuss it together. Let's begin. To understand the animals of Tibet, you first have to understand just how extreme their world truly is. This is not a place life was ever meant to be easy. Everything that survives here must overcome challenges that exist almost nowhere else on the planet. The first and greatest of these is the altitude. Across most of the plateau, the land sits more than 4,000 meters above sea level, an elevation higher than almost any mountain in Europe or North America, sustained not for a single peak, but across an area many times the size of a large country. At that height, the air holds only around half the oxygen found at sea level. Every animal that lives here, from the smallest pika to the mighty yak, must find a way to breathe, move, and survive on far less oxygen than we could ever tolerate. Then there is the cold. Winters on the plateau are brutally long and bitterly cold, with fierce winds sweeping unbroken across the open plains, and even in the height of summer, the nights can drop well below freezing. And because the air is so thin and the land so high, the sun's rays strike with tremendous force, bathing the plateau in some of the strongest ultraviolet light found anywhere on Earth. It is a land of blazing days and freezing nights, often within the same few hours. Within this demanding world lie several different habitats, each with its own community of life. There are the vast, high grasslands, the open steppe where the great herds and the burrowing animals make their home. There are the wetlands and lakes, gathering the meltwater from the ice and drawing in flocks of remarkable birds. And there are the high mountains, the rugged peaks, cliffs and glaciers where the most elusive hunters of all survive. It is a landscape shaped above all by ice and water, And that is where our journey truly begins, with the frozen heart of the plateau and the extraordinary gift it gives to half the world. Out on the open plateau, moving slowly across the grassland like something from another age, is the largest animal in all of Tibet. Immense, shaggy, and perfectly built for the cold, it can survive at altitudes and temperatures that would kill almost any other large mammal. This is the wild yak. The wild yak is a true giant. A large bull can stand 2 meters tall at the shoulder and weigh up to 1,000 kilograms, roughly the weight of a small car, carrying a huge pair of curved horns and a massive, powerful body. It is the ancestor of the domestic yak that Tibetan people have relied upon for thousands of years, for meat, milk, wool, and transport. But the wild yak is far larger, darker, and stronger than its tamed descendants. Indeed, without the domestic yak, human life on the high plateau would scarcely have been possible at all, for it provides almost everything the herders need to survive: milk and meat, wool for clothing and tents, dung for fuel where no wood will grow, and the sheer strength to carry heavy loads across the roughest ground. Everything about the wild yak is designed to defeat the cold. It is covered in a dense, shaggy coat that hangs almost to the ground, trapping a thick layer of warm air against its skin, and beneath that outer coat lies a second, softer undercoat for extra insulation. It also has far fewer sweat glands than lowland cattle, so it loses very little precious body heat. So effective is all of this that the yak thrives in temperatures far below freezing, and in fact it struggles in any real warmth, which is exactly why it lives only in the coldest, highest country on the plateau. But its most important adaptations are hidden inside its body. To cope with the thin mountain air, the wild yak has larger lungs and a larger heart than lowland cattle, and its blood carries a greater number of the red cells that transport oxygen. This allows it to draw enough oxygen from air that would leave a human breathless and dizzy, and to graze and travel with ease at altitudes above 5,000 meters, higher than almost any other large mammal on Earth can manage. Wild yaks are social animals. The females and their young gather in large herds, sometimes numbering in the hundreds, which offers safety against predators, while the older bulls often roam alone or in small bachelor groups, joining the herds only during the breeding season. During that season, the great bulls test one another in heavy clashes, lowering their horned heads and colliding with a force that echoes across the plain as they compete for the right to mate, contests of raw power befitting the largest animal on the plateau. A calf can stand and walk within hours of birth, and it must keep pace with the herd across the harshest terrain, for this land offers no shelter to any animal that falls behind. Generally peaceful, a wild yak will nonetheless defend itself with tremendous force if threatened, charging with lowered horns, and few predators would ever risk taking on a healthy adult. Once, these giants roamed the plateau in vast numbers, but hunting and the pressures of a changing world have driven them into the most remote corners of the high north. Immense, hardy, and superbly adapted, the wild yak remains the undisputed giant of the Tibetan plateau. Some of the most important animals in Tibet are also among the smallest. scattered across the grassland in vast numbers, living in networks of burrows beneath the surface, is a tiny creature that quietly shapes the entire ecosystem around it. This is the plateau pika. The plateau pika is a small mammal, weighing only around 150 grams, with a round body, short legs, and no visible tail. Though it looks rather like a small rodent, it is in fact a relative of rabbits and hares. It lives in colonies, digging extensive systems of tunnels and burrows across the open grassland. And it is active all year round, never hibernating even through the coldest depths of the plateau winter. Living alongside the pika, but on a far larger scale, is another burrowing animal that plays a central role in the life of the plateau. Sociable, watchful, and superbly adapted to the extremes of altitude, it is one of the highest living mammals of its kind anywhere on Earth. This is the Himalayan marmot. The Himalayan marmot is a large member of the squirrel family, a burrowing rodent that can weigh up to 9 kilograms by the end of summer. It lives in family colonies across the high grasslands, digging deep and extensive burrow systems that shelter it from both predators and the ferocious plateau weather. It thrives at altitudes above 4,000 meters, higher than almost any other marmot in the world, in country where the winters are long and merciless. Through the brief plateau summer, the marmot has one overriding task: to eat. It feeds almost constantly on the grasses and flowering plants of the high meadows, building up the thick reserves of fat that will be the key to its survival through the winter to come. And as it feeds, the colony stays alert, for danger is never far away. Himalayan marmots are famous sentinels. The moment one animal spots a threat, whether a fox slipping through the grass or an eagle circling overhead, it rises up on its hind legs and lets out a sharp, piercing whistle. Instantly, every marmot in the area dashes for the safety of the burrows, vanishing beneath the ground. Within the colony, marmots are highly social animals, greeting one another with touches of the nose and strengthening the bonds of the family group through mutual grooming. The young are born deep in the burrow in spring, and they grow quickly through the short summer, for they too must build the fat they will need before the first snows arrive. But the marmot's greatest feat is how it survives the winter, and it is one of the most complete adaptations found anywhere in the natural world. As the cold sets in and the snow begins to fall, the whole family retreats deep underground, seals the entrance to the burrow, huddles together, and enters a profound hibernation that can last for more than 6 months. During that time, the marmot's heartbeat slows from over 100 beats a minute to just a handful. Its body temperature drops until it is barely above freezing, and it survives entirely on the fat it spent all summer storing. For half the year, It lies in a state close to suspended animation, waiting out the winter beneath the frozen ground. When at last the spring sun softens the snow, the marmots emerge, thin and hungry after their long fast, into a world coming back to life, and the whole great cycle of feeding and fattening begins once more. Because they are so numerous, and because they carry such rich reserves of fat, marmots are also a vital source of food for the plateau's great predators. For hunters like the golden eagle and even the snow leopard, a marmot can be an essential meal, especially in the months after hibernation when the animals are plump and active. Social, hardy, and perfectly adapted to life at the top of the world, the Himalayan marmot is a true cornerstone of the high grassland. In the forested valleys and rocky slopes along the edges of the plateau lives a primate whose success is almost without equal in the animal world. Intelligent, adaptable, and remarkably tough, it thrives in places that would defeat most of its relatives, including the cold and the altitude of the high country. This is the rhesus macaque. The rhesus macaque is a medium-sized monkey with a sturdy body, a pinkish face, and a coat of brownish fur that grows thick and dense in the colder, higher parts of its range to protect it from the cold. It is one of the most widespread monkeys on Earth, found across an enormous area of Asia, and remarkably, some populations live at high altitudes in the mountains and plateau margins, making them among the highest dwelling primates in the world. The secret to the rhesus macaque's astonishing success is its adaptability. It will eat almost anything, from fruits, seeds, roots and leaves, to insects and small animals, adjusting its diet to whatever each place and season provides. This flexibility allows it to survive in an incredible variety of environments, from warm lowland forests to cold, high mountain valleys. Like many monkeys, it also has cheek pouches, which it can stuff with food to carry away and eat later in a safer spot. But the true heart of the rhesus macaque's life is its society. These monkeys live in large troops, sometimes numbering dozens of individuals, and their social world is complex and highly structured. Every troop is organized around a strict hierarchy, with clear ranks among both males and females, and an individual's status shapes almost every part of its life, from who it can sit beside to how easily it can find food and a mate. Navigating this social order takes real intelligence, and much of the macaque's considerable brain power is devoted to it. Central to holding the troop together is grooming. Macaques spend a great deal of their time carefully combing through one another's fur, and while this does keep them clean, its true purpose runs much deeper. Grooming builds trust, eases tensions, repairs relationships after conflict, and cements the alliances on which an individual's safety depends. It is the social glue of the entire troop. The intelligence of the rhesus macaque is so well recognized that it has been studied by scientists for over a century, and it has taught us a great deal, including the discovery of an important factor in human blood, which was named after this very animal. Those populations that live high in the mountains show just how tough this monkey can be, growing thick winter coats, sheltering among rocks and in caves from the worst of the cold, and huddling together for warmth through the freezing nights, proof that intelligence and adaptability can carry a species even into the thin air near the roof of the world. Bold, clever, and endlessly adaptable, the rhesus macaque is one of the great survivors of the natural world, at home even in the demanding country at the edge of the roof of the world. On the high lakes and wetlands of the plateau, a splash of warm color stands out against the blue water and the pale, dry land. Glowing a rich orange in the thin mountain sunlight and rarely seen far from its lifelong partner, this striking bird holds a special place in the culture of Tibet. This is the ruddy shelduck. The ruddy shelduck is a large, handsome member of the duck family. Its body a warm, rusty orange, set off by a paler head and dark flight feathers that show clearly when it takes to the air. It breeds on the lakes, marshes and slow rivers of the high plateau, and it is well suited to this cold, open country, gathering on the water through the short summer before migrating to lower ground as winter closes in. One of the most remarkable things about the ruddy shelduck is its devotion. These birds form strong, lasting pair bonds, and a male and female are very often seen together, swimming side by side, feeding close to one another and rarely straying far apart. It is this constant companionship that has earned the bird deep respect across the plateau. In Tibetan Buddhist tradition, the ruddy shelduck is considered a sacred bird, admired as a symbol of devotion and faithful love because of the closeness of its pairs. This reverence has long helped to protect it, and across much of the plateau, the ruddy shelduck lives largely undisturbed, a familiar and welcome sight on the high waters. The ruddy shelduck has an unusual approach to nesting. Rather than building on the open water's edge, it often chooses a sheltered hole or crevice, sometimes in rocks or cliffs, and sometimes even in the abandoned burrows of other animals, keeping its eggs safe and hidden away from predators. Both parents help to guard and raise the ducklings, leading them to the water soon after they hatch. Loud and far-carrying, the calls of the ruddy shelduck echo across the still lakes of the plateau, one of the characteristic sounds of the high wetlands. Like the bar-headed goose, the ruddy shelduck is a high-flying migrant, and it too must cross great mountain barriers on its seasonal journeys, having been recorded among the highest-flying birds in the world. In the warmer months, it spreads across the lakes and rivers of the plateau in scattered pairs, each defending its own stretch of shoreline before gathering into larger flocks again as the season turns and the long journey to lower ground draws near. Striking, devoted, and quietly sacred, the ruddy shelduck brings a glow of warm colour and a touch of old legend to the waters at the top of the world. Gathering on those same high lakes is a bird that performs one of the most astonishing feats of endurance in the entire animal kingdom. It looks unremarkable enough as it paddles across the water until you learn where it goes each year and just how high it must fly to get there. This is the bar-headed goose. The bar-headed goose is a medium-sized goose, pale grey and white, easily recognized by the two dark bars that curve across the back of its white head. It breeds on the high lakes and wetlands of the Tibetan plateau and Central Asia, gathering in large, noisy flocks on the water through the summer months, where the adults raise their goslings on the rich feeding grounds around the shores. Those goslings must grow quickly, for they will need to be strong enough to make the great migration across the mountains before their first winter arrives, one of the most demanding first journeys faced by any young bird on Earth. But it is the goose's migration that has made it famous the world over. Twice a year, the bar-headed goose travels between its breeding grounds on the plateau and its wintering grounds in the warmer lowlands of India and beyond. And to do so, it must cross one of the greatest barriers on the planet, the Himalayas, the highest mountains on Earth. In order to clear them, these geese fly at altitudes that seem almost impossible for any living thing, and they have been recorded soaring above 7,000 meters, in air so thin and so cold that most animals would lose consciousness within moments, let alone power themselves forward on beating wings. To achieve this extraordinary feat, the bar-headed goose is equipped with a whole suite of remarkable adaptations. Its blood contains a special form of hemoglobin, the substance that carries oxygen, which binds to that oxygen far more efficiently than our own, allowing the goose to draw what little it needs from the desperately thin, high-altitude air. Its lungs are especially efficient, and its powerful flight muscles are densely supplied with blood vessels, delivering oxygen to the body exactly where it is needed most. In short, this goose is built, from the inside out, to fly where almost nothing else can. Even more astonishingly, the geese often cross the mountains in a single punishing effort rather than stopping to rest at altitude, climbing steeply through the frozen air and driving directly over the ranges. Studies that fitted the birds with tiny recording devices revealed them following the shape of the land closely, using the shifting mountain winds and updrafts to help carry them upward. They accomplish, on nothing but muscle and wing, what no aircraft could manage without powerful engines and a pressurized cabin. Gathering by the thousand on the plateau's lakes and crossing the very roof of the world twice every year, the bar-headed goose is one of the greatest high-altitude travelers in all of nature, a modest-looking bird capable of one of the most remarkable journeys on Earth. Soaring over the plateau, tumbling through the mountain winds, and watching everything that happens below with a sharp and knowing eye, is a bird whose intelligence rivals that of many mammals. It is bold, curious, and endlessly resourceful, and it thrives in one of the harshest environments on Earth. This is the common raven. The common raven is a large, all-black bird, the biggest member of the crow family, with a heavy beak and a wingspan that can approach 1.5 meters. It is superbly hardy, at home in the cold and the thin air of the high plateau, where it is a familiar presence throughout the year, a dark shape against the snow and rock. But what truly sets the raven apart is its mind. Ravens are among the most intelligent animals on the entire planet, with problem-solving abilities that scientists compare to those of great apes. They can use and even fashion simple tools, plan for the future, remember individual faces for years, and outwit other animals to get what they want. They have been seen caching food in hidden spots, and then, if they notice another raven watching, returning later to move it somewhere new, an act that suggests they understand what a rival is thinking. Ravens are also famous for their sense of play, something rare in the animal world. They have been observed sliding down slopes of snow, seemingly just for fun, tumbling and rolling through the air in acrobatic flight, and playing games with sticks and other objects. This playfulness is a sign of a curious, flexible, and highly developed mind. On the plateau, the raven is a great opportunist. It will eat almost anything from carrion and insects to seeds and scraps, and it plays an important role as a scavenger, helping to clean the landscape. It often watches larger predators closely, ready to move in and share a carcass once the hunt is done, and it forms strong, lasting bonds with its mate, the pair remaining together and defending a territory across the seasons. The raven is also a gifted vocalist with an astonishing range of calls, and it can even learn to mimic the sounds it hears, including the voices of other animals. Pairs and family groups keep in constant contact across the vast, empty landscape through this rich language of croaks, knocks, and cries. In a place where food can be scarce and scattered over enormous distances, it is the raven's intelligence, memory, and communication, as much as its hardiness, that allow it to thrive where simpler minds would fail. Intelligent, adaptable, and full of character, the common raven has woven itself into the myths and legends of peoples all across the northern world, often as a figure of wisdom, mischief, or magic. On the roof of the world, it is one of the sharpest minds in the sky, a clever survivor perfectly at home in a land of extremes. High above the plateau, circling on enormous wings against the mountain sky, is one of the largest birds in all of Asia. It performs a vital and often misunderstood role, one so important to this harsh land that it has become woven into the culture of the people who live here. This is the Himalayan griffon. The Himalayan griffon is a huge vulture with a wingspan approaching 3 meters, making it one of the largest flying birds on the entire continent. Pale-bodied with darker wings, it is built for soaring, riding the rising currents of warm air along the mountains to reach great heights, where it can hang almost motionless in the sky for hours at a time, scanning the vast landscape far below for any sign of food. Like all vultures, the Himalayan griffon is a scavenger, feeding almost entirely on the bodies of dead animals. Far from being a grim or shameful role, this is one of the most valuable services in all of nature. By quickly consuming carcasses, vultures clean the landscape, stop the spread of disease, and return nutrients to the soil. A group of griffons can strip a carcass with astonishing speed, and their exceptional soaring ability lets them search enormous areas of the empty plateau for the scattered meals it provides. The griffon's great size and soaring flight allow it to travel to some of the highest places on Earth. These birds have been recorded flying at tremendous altitudes, crossing high passes and ridges in search of food, riding the thin mountain air with an ease that few other creatures could match. The Himalayan griffon also holds a deeply meaningful place in the traditions of Tibet. In the ancient and sacred custom known as sky burial, the bodies of the dead are offered to these vultures at special sites high in the mountains, returning the body to nature in a final act of generosity and release. Because of this profound role, the griffon is treated with deep respect across the plateau, seen not as a bird of death, but as a bird that carries life onward. Like many large birds of prey, the Himalayan griffon is slow to reproduce. A pair raises only a single chick at a time, nesting on a high, sheltered cliff ledge, and they pour months of care into that one youngster before it is ready to fly and fend for itself. These are long-lived birds, and a pair may return to the same cliff to breed for many years. But this slow pace of breeding also leaves vultures vulnerable, for a population that suffers heavy losses can take a very long time to recover. Soaring higher than almost any other creature, cleaning the vast landscapes far below, and honored by the people who share its home, the Himalayan griffon is one of the most important and revered animals in the skies of Tibet. Sharing the skies with the great vultures, but living an entirely different kind of life, is one of the most powerful hunting birds on the planet. Where the griffon soars in search of the dead, this bird hunts the living, striking prey across the open plateau with astonishing speed and force. This is the golden eagle. The golden eagle is found across much of the northern world, but few places test it like the thin air of the Tibetan plateau, where it soars and hunts at altitudes that would ground most other birds of prey. It is a large and formidable raptor with a wingspan of over 2 meters, and it takes its name from the wash of golden feathers across the back of its head and neck, which catch the light as it wheels against the sun. It is superbly suited to hunting over vast, open country. On the plateau, the golden eagle preys above all on the abundant small mammals of the grassland, the marmots, pikas, and hares that emerge to feed. Soaring high on the mountain winds, it uses eyesight several times sharper than our own to spot the smallest movement far below, and then it commits to one of the most spectacular attacks in nature. Folding its wings, it drops into a steep, high-speed dive known as a stoop, plunging toward the earth at speeds that can exceed 200 kilometers an hour and striking its prey with powerful talons before the animal can even reach the safety of its burrow. It is strong enough to take surprisingly large prey, including at times the young of the plateau's grazing animals. Golden eagles form strong, lifelong pair bonds. A mated pair holds a large territory, which it patrols and defends year after year, and together they build a great nest on a high cliff ledge or crag, returning to it and adding to it over many seasons. These are long-lived birds, able to survive for several decades in the wild, so that a single pair may rule the same stretch of sky for a very long time. Across the mountainous heart of Asia, the golden eagle has long been revered as a symbol of power, freedom, and the wild spirit of the high country. In some cultures across the mountains and steppes of Central Asia, the eagle's power has even forged a remarkable bond with people, and for centuries, certain hunters have trained golden eagles to hunt alongside them, a tradition that speaks to the deep respect this magnificent bird has always commanded. Powerful, far-ranging, and perfectly at home in the thin air of the heights, it is the master hunter of the Tibetan skies, ruling the winds above the roof of the world. As we climb higher into the steep and rugged mountains that ring the plateau, we meet a wild goat superbly built for a life on near vertical ground. Sure-footed and heavily coated against the cold, it thrives on cliffs and slopes where few other large animals could ever keep their footing. This is the Himalayan tahr. The Himalayan tahr is a robust relative of the wild goat, a big male weighing up to 90 kilograms. It is instantly recognized by its thick, shaggy coat and, in the males, a magnificent flowing mane of long hair around the neck and shoulders, which grows especially dense through the winter to fend off the bitter mountain cold. Both sexes carry curved horns, shorter and more modest than those of the great wild sheep, but well suited to the pushing contests of the breeding season. The tahr's true mastery lies in its feet. Its hooves are specially adapted for climbing, with a hard outer rim for catching on the smallest edges of rock, and a soft, rubbery inner pad that grips the surface like the sole of a climbing shoe. With these, together with powerful muscles and superb balance, the tahr moves across dangerously steep slopes with total confidence, bounding between ledges and retreating to the sheerest ground the very moment a predator appears. This ability to live where hunters cannot easily follow is the tahr's whole strategy for survival. Rather than relying on speed across open ground, it relies on terrain, keeping always within reach of the cliffs, so that at the first sign of danger, it can climb to safety on rock faces that no wolf or big cat would dare to attempt. It grazes on the grasses and shrubs of the steep mountainsides and gathers in herds that share many watchful eyes. During the autumn rut, the males compete for the right to mate, using their horns and their sheer bulk in shoving contests on the precipitous slopes, each trying to force the other off balance. A female gives birth on a high, protected ledge, and her young is up and climbing within days of its birth, an essential skill in a world where a single misstep can be fatal. Its greatest natural enemy in these mountains is the snow leopard, one of the few predators agile enough to pursue it across the steep terrain, and so the tahr must remain forever watchful, never straying far from the safety of the cliffs. Shaggy, sure-footed and perfectly adapted to the steepest terrain, the Himalayan tahr is one of the great climbers of the high mountains that guard the plateau. Now we come to the animal at the very heart of these mountains, the most elusive of all the great cats, and one of the most beautiful animals on the entire planet. So rarely seen that it is known simply as the ghost of the mountains, it haunts the highest, most remote peaks of Tibet, and finding one has become the dream of naturalists the world over. This is the snow leopard. The snow leopard is a large cat weighing between 25 and 55 kilograms, and every single part of its body has been shaped by life in the cold, thin air of the high mountains. Its coat is a soft, smoky grey, patterned with dark rosettes and spots, and it provides camouflage so perfect against the rock and snow that the cat can seem to vanish before your eyes, even in the open. Beneath that patterned outer coat lies dense, thick fur that keeps out the extreme cold, and it extends even to the soles of the snow leopard's huge, wide paws, which act as both snowshoes on the deep snow and insulation against the frozen ground. Its most distinctive feature of all is its tail. Nearly as long as the cat's own body and thick and heavy with fur, that tail serves two vital purposes. As the snow leopard leaps and climbs across steep, broken terrain, the tail provides balance and control, helping it make astonishing bounds that can carry it many meters across the rocks in a single jump. And when the cat lies down to rest in the biting mountain wind, it wraps that long, luxuriant tail around its body like a scarf, keeping itself warm. the snow leopard is a solitary and patient ambush hunter. Rather than chasing its prey across open ground, it uses its camouflage and the cover of the rugged, rocky terrain to creep silently within striking distance before launching a sudden explosive attack, often leaping down onto its target from above. It hunts the animals of the high country, the wild sheep and goats, the marmots and the pikas of the plateau, and a single large kill can sustain it for many days. Unlike the great roaring cats, such as the lion and the tiger, the snow leopard cannot roar, communicating instead through a range of other sounds, including a distinctive haunting moan that echoes among the peaks. A mother snow leopard raises her cubs alone, hiding them away in a sheltered den among the rocks and teaching them, over many long months, everything they must know to survive on their own. But the future of this magnificent cat hangs in a delicate balance. The snow leopard is endangered, with only a few thousand thought to remain across the entire mountain heart of Asia, threatened by the loss of its prey, by conflict with herders whose livestock it sometimes takes, and by poaching for its beautiful coat and its bones. Every snow leopard that still walks these peaks is a precious and increasingly rare treasure. Beautiful, elusive, and superbly adapted to a world at the very limits of survival, the snow leopard is the crowning glory of the Tibetan mountains and the enduring symbol of the wild, untamed roof of the world. There are few places on Earth as wild, as high, and as demanding as the Tibetan plateau. A land where the air itself is thin, where the cold cuts deep, and where the sun burns fiercely from an enormous sky. And yet, against all of this, life not only survives here, but flourishes in forms found nowhere else on the planet. The wild yak on the open plain, the geese crossing the highest mountains on Earth, the snow leopard moving like a shadow among the peaks, each one shaped by the extremes of the world at the top of the world. Everything we have seen here is bound together into a single, delicate system, the little pika that feeds the eagle and enriches the soil, the marmot that sustains the great predators, the wetlands that draw in the cranes and the geese, and the ice and snow of the plateau that feed the mighty rivers below, carrying life to nearly half the people on Earth. It is a web of connections stretching from the smallest burrowing animal all the way down to the great cities of the lowlands, thousands of kilometers away. But this remarkable world is fragile and it is changing. The plateau is warming faster than much of the planet. Its ancient glaciers are shrinking, and the pressures on its wildlife have grown. The future of this place and of the water it gives to a continent is not guaranteed. And yet, there is real reason for hope. Vast areas of the plateau are now protected. The sacred respect that the Tibetan people have long shown to its animals endures, and the wildlife of this high, hard land holds on, as it has for countless thousands of years. As long as the wild yak still roams the plains, the snow leopard still haunts the peaks, and the great rivers still flow down from the ice, there will be something here worth protecting, worth treasuring, and worth returning to. Thank you for taking this journey with us. Thank you so much for watching Wild Tibet, Secrets of the Roof of the World. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel so you never miss a new documentary. Leave a comment below and tell us which animal you found most fascinating. See you on the next journey.